He lies down on his own heart spread in the form of the sky, and thus placing the whole creation in that space, he expands himself into many living entities which are manifested as different species of life. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance because he is the master of all mystic powers and the proprietor of everything. Thus, he is distinct from the living entities. Purport. The questions regarding creation, maintenance and destruction, which are mentioned in many parts of the Srimad Bhagavatam, are in relation to different millenniums, kalpas, and therefore they are differently described by different authorities when questioned by different students. There is no difference regarding the creative principles and the Lord's control over them, yet there are some differences in the minute details because of different kalpas. The gigantic sky is the material body of the Lord, called the Virata Rupa. And all material creations are resting on the sky or the heart of the Lord. Therefore, beginning from the sky, the first material manifestation to the gross vision down to the earth, everything is called Brahman. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. There is nothing but the Lord, and He is one without a second. The living entities are the superior energies, whereas matter is the inferior energy, and the combination of these energies brings about the manifestation of the material world, which is in the heart of the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Shreshtham Manamapi Shakti Putra Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasyaguyam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tanmatarsi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ataf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here is a part of a detailed delineation of Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana, scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. At least much more detailed than we'll find in any other religious scriptures of the world, although it's only an overview. If we actually want to have knowledge of the creation, then it'll be much more detailed than this. This knowledge, what is it required for? There are various purposes. One thing is to understand how He is great and we are small. He is independent of us and of everything else, and we are dependent on Him. This knowledge is required in human society. I'll backtrack to the previous verses purport. Srila Prabhupada sometimes did that when he was speaking on a series of verses. Sometimes read the verse scheduled for the day and then go back to the previous verse, which he'd spoken on the previous day, because he wanted to explain more about that. So I'm going to go back to the previous purport, the purport to the previous verse, and read the last line of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada wrote, if there is any scarcity in the world, it is the scarcity of God consciousness. Otherwise, by the grace of the Lord, there is no scarcity of anything. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada has discussed the scarcity of food due to overpopulation. And he says overpopulation. There's no such thing as overpopulation. In one place he said that overpopulation means when the world is overrun by demons. But otherwise, the idea that the earth is not competent to provide food for all the living beings is an atheistic idea, because nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bhagavir. Yeah. What's the last line? Vidadhati karma. Yeah. There is one independent, eternal, among all the other eternal living beings, and that one eternal is fulfilling the desires and the needs of all others. Now, these are different types of statements. Describing how the creation comes into being is information. And writing that if there's a scarcity of the world, there's a scarcity of God consciousness. It's also information, but it has the quality of inspiration also. That by writing this, Srila Prabhupada wants to, he's not just making a point, an academic point, but it's a call to action. If the only scarcity in the world is God consciousness, and we're concerned about the condition of the living beings within the world, then by reading this we should be inspired to fill the gap. What's missing? What's missing? The food is missing. Srila Prabhupada writes that actually there is enough food, but it's misappropriated, or it's not properly distributed by administrators. So much food is thrown away every year. Apart from that, so much. Anyway, it's a whole topic. Just like around here, there's so much cattle farming, beef farming. The land could be utilized for growing crops, but beef cattle. And then, I've been saying I was staying at a farm in South India. The whole land all around that huge area is coffee plantations. Useless. In terms of nourishment, food, useless. Coffee plantations, tea, all kinds of useless things. Provide no nourishment. Provide a little sensual titillation, which is also a disturbance in the matter of God consciousness. So this information that we acquire from Srimad Bhagavatam, that may be the subject of a Bhakti Shastra course. After studying the Bhakti Shastra course, the real test, what is the test? You have to do your test and then you get the marks. It doesn't really matter that much what your marks are. The real test is how you become inspired by understanding this knowledge that we have to share it with others. If we just have a Bhakti Shastra course and then we get marks and I say, now I'm Bhakti Shastri, and we sit and we put a certificate on the wall, some value it, no doubt. That is better than studying any number of mundane subjects. But the real call here we have in Srila Prabhupada's books, and it's there in all his books, and especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita we find. Because Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, but so much of it is about preaching. Of course, we have Maitreya preaching to Vidura, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, Dino Hino Joto Chelo Hariname Udharilo Tarshaki Jagai Madhai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission to save the fallen, such as Jagai and Madhai, by giving the holy names. That's actually that which I just quoted is not directly from Chaitanya Charitamrita, but there are so many things in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Patra Vichana, same idea. Vichana hinahistan stanjay jaha pai taride premadan. The Panchatattva did not consider who is qualified to receive prema and who is not. but just willy-nilly they distribute it. If you don't know what willy-nilly means, translator, then you can get the idea. Here and there, yata tota. They wanted to distribute without consideration of who is qualified, who is not qualified. So this is the scarcity in the world. In the newspapers, and in the parliamentary meetings, and the committees set up to solve the problems of the world. What are the problems of the world? Well, the main problem we learn nowadays is because men have always oppressed women. So that should be corrected. Or someone else may say the main problem is feminism. Someone else may say the main problem facing Germany is immigrants. And there are so many problems. The root cause of all problems is lack of God consciousness. Knowledge of God in Bhagavad Gita begins with understanding the difference between the Deha, the body, and the Dehi. I was just now listening 10 minutes ago to Srila Prabhupada talking to a very prominent lawyer who's still alive. He's very old and his name is well known in India, Ram Jethmalani. The Indians have all heard his name, I presume, if you read the news. Maybe if you're living in England, you haven't heard his name. So Srila Prabhupada and Ram Jethmalani, I can say something else about it. That later, I saw some years ago in a magazine in India called The Week, in which they were interviewing various people. Do you believe in God? And Ram Jethmalani was one of the people. He said, I used to, but then I went to Gujarat, Bhuj area, just after the earthquake, and I saw so much suffering, innocent people just sitting in their school, and the earthquake killed them all. So I stopped believing in God, because why would God sanction such suffering? He should have heard from Prabhupada. So anyway, Ram asked about why is it not in Bhagavad Gita described about public social service? That's a good thing to do, right? If you want to be a good person, what do you want to be when you grow up? An engineer, a doctor, or a chartered accountant? Mostly in India, they say. Or the girls want to be airline hostesses, or space, what's that? Astronauts, astronauticas, something like that. Following in the footsteps of Kalpana Chawla, who the first Indian woman in space. She didn't quite make it. The whole thing blew up on launching. She's a national heroine. She got blown up, not by terrorists, by NASA. So Prabhupada said, this idea of public social service is for animals. He said, even the dog, they're going bow, wow, wow. And he quoted the verse, Yasyatma buddhi guna petri dhatu ke svadhi kalatrar rishu bhoma idjatihi. Yatirtha buddhi salilena karhijit janeshva gigneshu sa eva gokara. One who identifies his body to be his self. Who, even if the body is just a bag of mucus, bile and air. And who thinks of his motherland as worshipable. Janani janma bhumishcha swargameva guryas. It's in Sanskrit, it's nonsense. It's not that everything in Sanskrit is authorized Shastra. It means that the mother and the motherland, the land you are born in, is more glorious than heaven. But heaven isn't glorious anyway, so the whole thing's nonsense from beginning to end. And then one who goes to a holy place just to take a bath in the water there, without taking advantage of the association of saintly people, such a person is a fool and is compared to a cow or an ass in terms of intelligence. You may say, why the cow? Well, cows are sacred, but they're not very intelligent. Their interest, the main interest of cows, if you don't know, it's grass. Grass, 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 grass. And we're not talking about the stuff that the hippies used to enjoy. Real, genuine grass. So it's not very elevated aspiration. Cows don't sleep much, eh? You don't see them sleeping much, hardly. When they're asleep, they're dreaming of grass. When they're daydreaming, they're thinking of huge fields of grass. So not very into bodily concept of life. And we find that Srila Prabhupada, he was just always pressing on this point. We're not the body. Even at that time, just before that, one prominent member of parliament had come to see Srila Prabhupada. And he was very prominent at the time. He's not known nowadays. He must be dead. And Srila Prabhupada is just getting on the point with not the body, understand we're not the body. And you think, well, Hindus, they should understand that. They don't. It's not that because you say, I'm a Hindu. Gaur se kaho hum Hindu hai. Say it proudly. We're all Hindus. It's not that because that one knows the science of Bhagavad Gita and the science of Krishna consciousness. It's needed in human society. We may say, it's very much needed here. It's needed everywhere. It's not that Hindus by birth, generally, they have more inclination to take to Krishna consciousness. That's because of some previous good fortune, some pious activities in previous lives. But they need, I want to speak of the people here who are very deeply in the mode of ignorance. Every time I come from India to the West, I get culture shock. It's how people are, what's their life? Saturday, the best day of the week, off work, and you can go in the city and walk around, and just deep, deep, deep in the mode of ignorance. What are they doing with their life? You never think. And just, but Thakur says, what is that? Kai Pari Hari Chintahin Nabaveho Edeho Paribe Konogden. I'm eating, I'm looking around at this and that. I'm sleeping, I'm enjoying myself. But I never think that someday this body will have to fall down. Just like animals. They don't think, what am I doing with this life? And suffering. If we think that, the people we saw there, that's their happiness. Their happiness is walking around the street, showing off their tattoos, and with the young women and the old women also wearing miniskirts, showing off their tattoos. You put a tattoo on your back, you have to wear clothing that exposes it, otherwise people can't see it. Right? And what's the point of having a tattoo if people can't see it? And smoking and looking in the shops. That's their happiness. No idea of the goal of life. Nothing. It's completely devoid of any intelligence any more than an animal in the matter of understanding. Who am I? What am I doing? It's a demoniac society that doesn't teach people that this human form of life is rarely achieved. Natva sudurlabhamidam bhavasambhavanti manusham artatam anityam apihatir turnam yateta navatadhanumrityayava nishrayasa vishayakalu sarvatasyat. This grave warning of Krishna, given by Krishna, that after many, many births we attain this human life. Very, very rare. Very, very rare. Very rare. And doesn't last long. And we can use it to get free from birth and death. So we should use it to get free from birth and do whatever is required before we die again. How many times have we died? How many times have we born? It's countless. But we're thinking that, I can enjoy myself. But Krishna said, you already enjoyed it. We already enjoyed ourselves in so many lives. And if we want to enjoy, we can go on enjoying. But the problem is there's no enjoyment. It's all suffering. Simply suffering. People don't know. The leaders, they're big demons, and the others, they're smaller demons. But everyone is in ignorance. They don't know. What is the purpose of human life? That we're suffering in repeated birth and death. They don't know. So you have to inform them. You have to give out these books. They're very powerful books. We won't find in any books. You can find Hindu books, Muslim books, Christian books. You won't find statements like this. For that matter, even in Gauriya Mat books, you won't find statements like this. If there is any scarcity in the world, it is the scarcity of God consciousness. Otherwise, by the grace of the Lord, there is no scarcity of anything. Srila Prabhupada was so concerned about the human condition. On one hand, very blissful in Krishna consciousness. On the other hand, very concerned about how people they got this human life and they're just wasting it. What can be done? What should be done? Well, we have the very powerful methods given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of chanting the holy names. Let people hear the holy names. At least let them hear the holy names. And distributing these very powerful books. They're powerful because Vidyate Vidya Grantish Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha. They pierce through the knot on the heart. We have very, very tightly bound up all complex misconceptions. But by reading this clearly presented knowledge, it cuts through all misconceptions. And all the millions of doubts and misconceptions, everything is cleared away by that. Now I may think, well, we went on the street and we chanted Hare Krishna and then we came back and distributed some books, and what happened? The people didn't become Krishna conscious. They did, to some extent. They made some progress. And that little progress, just by seeing the devotees and hearing the holy names, they don't even know it, but that's the most important thing they did in billions and millions and trillions of lifetimes. Everything else they did was simply useless. So it's their great good fortune. And then when the devotees go again and again and again, then people tend to take us more seriously. They think it's fun. It is fun. Transcendental fun, transcendental pleasure. But they can understand it's something serious, especially when they see devotees going out in the winter, day after day after day, and chanting the holy name. And when they see devotees are so much committed to distributing these books, and they're not taking anything for themselves, why should they do that? Why should they go out day after day after day distributing books? Which people, they don't want to buy. You have to convince them. There are few cases of people actually wanting the books. Even in India, you see the book distribution in India, if you see the Sankirtan newsletter, it's practically as much as the rest of the world put together for years and years and years like that. And actually we don't even get all the book distribution results because many temples don't report. And there's a whole bunch going on from the Krishna Books International, who are printing the original unedited edition. But that's not reported. So they're distributing lots of books also. So But in India, a huge book distribution. And you might think, well, in India you just go out and people just buy the books, but it's not like that. Of course, people are more pious and more inclined to take. And the effort of the devotees is needed also. The devotees themselves have to be enthusiastic. And when people see that these are pure-hearted devotees who want to share spiritual knowledge, then they become inclined to take the book. It may be, just like some years ago, our devotees, they were going to areas of Tamil Nadu in South India, where people had never heard of ISKCON. Many people had never heard of ISKCON. In most of India, people have heard of ISKCON, at least the more educated class, but they never heard of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there was Acharya Das going door to door selling sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's from Holland, and he doesn't speak any Tamil, and he can hardly even speak English very understandably. Not that hardly anyone understands English anyway. So that's empowerment. Krishna empowers. We heard Maharaj Prabhu say, towers of books. People just walking along with no idea to buy Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and devotee just overpowers them by his spiritual desire. And people take the books, and they don't. That's one good thing, that they don't think about what they're doing, because if they start to think, what am I doing? And spending so much money for a whole pile of books, I don't know what they're about, and if you look at them, they're not interested, but the books go out, and they have their effect. And they will do the more we push it, more and more and more. And as Manida Prabhu was saying the other day also, that we have to demonstrate that, show communities. Oh, there's another point I should make. We can teach yoga as much as we want. It won't make anyone Krishna conscious. One Harinam party is worth thousands of yoga classes. Much more. How many times do you have to multiply 0 to get 1? It doesn't work. It doesn't work ever. Of course, you can say you can add the 1, and then it'll make it. But then, what's the point of putting all those zeros anyway? So yeah, we have to demonstrate that also. That will also be very powerful if we can show communities where people are living who are dedicated to Krishna consciousness. That is the purpose of the community. It's not just farming and living simply. The point is that everyone together is cultivating Krishna consciousness, and they've found that in comparison to everything that the whole society offers, nowadays there are so many things. Everything is on the internet. You can get everything, at least virtually. All kinds of things which maybe we never even imagined. And if you have sufficient money, you can go on a holiday to here, there, somewhere else. You can go scuba diving and paragliding, and you can do all kinds of things. You can even book yourself a ticket to Mars. Not recommended, but you'll probably lose your money, because just like the tickets that Pan American Airlines sold to the moon in the 1970s. Well, no one ever went to the moon with Pan American, and Pan American also folded up. Took all the money and put it in their pocket and went bankrupt. There's so many things you can do, but by coming to these communities, devotees are indirectly, but quite loudly at the same time saying, we don't want to have anything to do with your stinking society, which is just grinding people and sending them to hell. We're finished with that. All the promises you gave us, we don't believe any of them. There are so many conspiracy theories and showing how the politicians are lying. What's new? It's been going on since time. Politician means liar. That's all. Actually, everyone's a liar pretty much in society. Everyone's lying all the time. They're cutting a profile, showing themselves to be something they're not. Finished. You know, we don't have anything to do with that. We're just here to serve Krishna. We don't need all the all the things you've offered. You don't want to be coming here to serve Krishna. So it's massive endeavor is required to help people who don't want to help themselves, who resist that. Just like, how do you give a horse medicine if the horse doesn't want to take the medicine? What do you do? Now, nowadays you can give an injection. Yeah. That's right. You can. Otherwise,
putting in hospital.
Yeah, well, the point is it takes several men to hold the horse and get the mouth open and without getting their hand bitten off. Horses are very strong creatures, very dangerous also. Front they bite you, and the back they kick you, and in the middle they throw you off. So, front, middle, and back. It's a dangerous creature. So how do you do that? How do you give the medicine of Krishna consciousness to people who don't want it? Well, a very good method is going out and chanting the holy names, and like it or not, they become purified by repeatedly hearing the holy names. But it's a big effort. Srila Prabhupada, he repeatedly used, that's one section of my upcoming book, already written, The Mood and Mission of Srila Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada was in military spirit. And he again and again gave martial analogies. That we are a great army of going out, you're a general in the army. All these kind of martial analogies he used to use, because as he states in his purport to the Bhagavad Gita, that practicing Krishna consciousness is a declaration. It's like a declaration of war on the illusory energy. And the illusory energy is very powerful. It's changing the world and helping people to come out of their thick, dark ignorance. It's not going to happen by just coming on Sunday to the temple, having a kirtan and smiling and being nice to everyone. It's not going to happen. It requires serious commitment of many devotees to go on throughout their life. And even it might seem we're not getting anywhere, we have to go on. That's the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jari Dekho Tari Kaho Krishna. We have to try to give Krishna consciousness to others. So these communities are also required. You may say, well, what's the preaching? Well, one thing, at least it shelters the devotees from that horrible, ugra karmic society. And in my estimation, one major problem we have in ISKCON is that most of our devotees, they don't even realize how bad it is. They just live in society, go on the way. How bad it is. We become accustomed. Inured is the English word. It means that something's bad, but you keep on getting it again and again, and you get used to it. But it's still bad. But these communities, just like we have here, devotees have kindly welcomed us to this community for a few days. But that's also preaching. That people can come and see different way of life. And I've been here a few times over the years, and seeing it's the community here at Simhachalam, it's picked up a lot. It was always a very struggling center, and struggle will always be there, but it's improved. It's noticeably improved. I'm not just saying that to flatter, because I'm not flattering type. But number of devotees is here. The spirit is not as previously used to see one of just struggling to survive with some internal bickering, but the devotees are together, united. There's a sense of mission. We want to do something here. Brahmacharis are joining. All the devotees, after retiring, are coming here to serve Krishna, serve Nrsimhadev, serve Srila Prabhupada. And one very welcome sign is that the temple president, who was married yesterday, he grew up here. So he grew up here, he's married here, he'll have children here. So that's very encouraging, that the children of the devotees, even though they've seen everything ISKCON has to offer, including the not so welcome things. They've seen all that, but they're inspired by the ideals that Srila Prabhupada gave us. And they want to go on with that and take it forward. So there's good signs. Now there are so many children. I see the Czech devotee just I met them. And one of the Mataji's baby was there. I asked her, 5 months. So she said, "This is our dakshina to you." Very good. Very nice. Train the children, take the children, and don't think this is my child for me to enjoy. But this child is to be offered to Krishna. Have children. Train them in Krishna consciousness. Train them with this mission that you're born in a Vaishnava family. Such good luck. So you got born with a purpose. You're not just born just to a lifetime number, 20 zillion. Born with a purpose, sent by Krishna to contribute to this movement, to learn. Again, I mean, we must have done something in the previous life to get born. Must be a devotee from previous life. And now sent to a Vaishnava family. So there's a purpose. It should be trained so they can take the movement forward. We're a long way behind, actually, because Srila Prabhupada had expansive plans to spread Krishna consciousness very widely, very quickly. Unfortunately, things worked out differently. Well, let's be frank, we messed it up. Not totally, not a total disaster, but unfortunately when devotees come together, a lot of the time the talk is about all the things that are going wrong, even now, in the past and now. So we want to change that and go back to what our talk used to be, about how we're spreading the movement. We have to spread it more. Of course, it may be that we are our own worst enemies, and that due to attitudes, various attitudes, that we're not able to spread. Even devotees want to dedicate fully to Krishna and preach and spread. One devotee told me he's been active in book distribution in America all his life. He's about the same age as me, I guess. And he said, this is a few years ago, it might have changed by now, but he said, I'm distributing books, and if people are interested, he said, there's hardly 1 or 2 temples in America where I'd recommend them to go. If people say, I want to know more, can I visit your center? He wouldn't want to recommend them, because he thought that they'd get a wrong impression. And the ideal that they became inspired from, by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, they become disappointed. Actually, I felt like that myself when I first read Krishna book before I joined this movement, and I thought, okay, it's good, looks good, but I should go and visit them and maybe join them. But I thought, no, it's just going to be the same as everywhere else. People talking big things, but you can't expect people to actually live according to these ideals. But I thought, anyway, I should go. At least I should go and see. I shouldn't judge. And I was very happy. I was very happy, and they allowed me to join. And the devotees were actually living according to the ideals in the books. There was no difference. It wasn't as could happen nowadays, and it does happen, that people ask us, should I follow what's in your books or follow what you do? There shouldn't be a difference. The two things should be the same. And that's very powerful. Preaching is not just sitting on a seat giving talks, or even just giving out books, but we have to walk the talk, as the saying goes. We have to live up to the high ideals, and then people can become very inspired if they see that. Yeah, actually, it's possible. Going back again to my own joining Krishna consciousness. I joined, and they said, okay, 16 rounds. You have to chant. In those days, there was no chant 1 round, and then after some days 2 rounds. You chant 16 rounds. How can I do that? But then I saw the other devotees, I saw the devotees, and I thought, well, they're probably from very similar backgrounds to myself. They're not transported here from Mars, or they're young people about the same age, a little older than me, and they're all chanting, so I guess if they can do it, I can do it. So by their example, I became inspired. So yeah, a lot of work to do. Coming to this Shravan Kirtan camp, it should be that we become so inspired that we want to share that with others. It's not a japa retreat. Alright, japa retreat may have its utility. I'm not saying it doesn't. But it's Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada imparted it to us. It's not just meant for ourselves. It's not meant that we just hide away and chant. We're supposed to go out to others. I myself am spending a lot of time on farms these days, and I say, what about you? What are you doing? I'm doing my writing kirtan. There's some important things I have to write. I think if you've seen some of my books, you can understand someone has to do that. Some of the things I'm writing about. So I'm doing it. If someone else would write it, then I wouldn't have to, but I don't see anyone else doing it. So if there's any scarcity in the world, it is the scarcity of God consciousness. Otherwise, by the grace of the Lord, there's no scarcity of anything. But there's scarcity of food, there's scarcity of good behavior, there's scarcity of how many things can we think of? There's scarcities. But if people become God consciousness, then sarva kama dukhama, the earth will give everything we need, as in the time of Maharaj Yudhishthira. The earth will give. Even now the earth is giving. We don't have to torture the earth with chemicals. The earth will happily give if the people are God conscious. The cows, they'll happily give milk. We don't have to inject them with hormones and squeeze it out. They'll happily give. Everything will be given that we require to live peacefully in this world and prosecute Krishna consciousness. The only lack is Krishna consciousness. People don't know this. Lokasya janato vidvans chakre satpata samhita. People don't know. Therefore Vyasadeva compiled the Vedic literature so that people can know. And Srila Prabhupada, the present day incarnation of Vyasa, has represented that knowledge so that people everywhere can take advantage of it. So let us distribute these books, live according to the books, chant the holy names, personally and for others, establish communities. Everyone according to their capacity should serve this mission. Not just according to our capacity, do more. If we think I can do this much, do more. That was Srila Prabhupada's attitude. He didn't have to try as hard as he did. He extended himself impossibly. It would seem impossible. He had been a businessman all his life, family man, and he was a nice devotee. He'd go to the Gauri Mat and play the Mridanga. Sometimes he'd give talks. He was recognized as, he knows the philosophy nicely. He was making a little 4-sheeter magazine and distributing that. And nice devotee. Bit eccentric, all this idea of writing magazines and going and distributing it. Who does that? Little eccentric, but well-intentioned. No one could imagine what Srila Prabhupada did. But it didn't just happen just by going, but by, as he said, giving gallons of blood. He said we have to give gallons of blood to make one devotee. So let us pray at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada that we can imbibe some of his mode. Follow in his footsteps. Not imitate, not speculate. Follow in his footsteps. Try to serve his mission. Hare Krishna. Any question, please? We're not this body. We should discuss the higher levels. Why should we talk about we're not the body?
But actually we can see that most problems in our society are caused by the fact that
most problems in the society is caused by
the fact that we are thinking we are
the fact that we are
this ego,
that we are this body.
intelligence,
We are this ego.
mind.
I am this intelligence. Yeah, thank you for that observation.
I have two questions which are related to each other. So the first question is related to India. If India is so prominent in terms of spiritual wisdom, why it is number 3rd country in the world, amongst the suicide rates, country next to North Carolina. So
What's number 1?
I forgot about the number 1 country. But
I say it's a Scandinavian country, isn't it?
No, but I checked. Let's say Scandinavia is 35 place. It's like WHO data a few years old.
Yeah.
So that was the first question. And the second one, so if Prabhupada, where is Prabhupada's success of preaching? Is he, because he brought wisdom from India to the West and connected the practicality, right, of the birth. So shouldn't we talk about this, of how to, because everything in the West is not demoniac, I would say. It's also a good thing. And Prabhupada took to this also.
The first question, if India is so spiritually advanced, why is there so much suicide? Srila Prabhupada once asked a similar question, not specifically about suicide, but he said that he was asked why it's so poverty-stricken. He said, because you came and looted the place. There's actually been a book written recently, you know that, Shashi Tharoor. I didn't read it. He's showing how the British very intelligently and very systematically looted the place. Actually, this question, you read this book, The Message to the Youth of India, in which there's one section called The Causes of India's Present Degradation. And there are various factors. The influence of politicians, the influence of Mayavad, the influence of Kali Yuga. Because Bhagavad Gita is not taught as it is, these are various reasons that Srila Prabhupada has given. And what was the other question? Some things in the West are not demoniac. Well, anything can be used in Krishna's service. It's just like this microphone. Srila Prabhupada himself often gave the example of the microphone in explaining the principle of yukta vairagya, applied renunciation. So anything can be used in Krishna's service. But in general, the technologically oriented society is one of ugra karma. Horrible work. So to produce these goods requires factories, dungeons for demons, Srila Prabhupada called factories. So and the whole idea is that we're progressing, we're doing better. God made the world, but we're doing something better. We don't need any God. So the underlying current is definitely demonic. We can use all things in Krishna's service, no doubt. A microphone in and of itself is not good or bad. We can't say this is a spiritual, we can't say this is a saintly microphone and this is a demoniac microphone. But it can become spiritualized if used in Krishna's service. The example is also given. Again, I heard it from Srila Prabhupada, and it's there, I believe in Hitopadesh, that to cut a tree requires an axe. Nowadays you may use a chainsaw, but traditionally use an axe. The head of the axe is metal. But you can't cut the tree with just the head, you need the handle also. So the handle, you take a branch of the tree, and use the branch of the tree that becomes instrumental in cutting the tree. So we can use all these technological developments to promote a society in which this technology is not going to come to an end, but it's over-emphasized and over-glorified. This Maharaj Prabhu was telling me about driving the latest Mercedes-Benz car, and you say yellow, and the internal light changes to yellow. You say blue, and the internal light changes to blue. This is toys for rich fools. That's all. Now I got the latest car, and probably all cars will have it after some time. It's just like the first cars to have you press the button and then the window goes up or down. The first cars to have that was Rolls-Royce, and now it's standard in every car. So maybe in every car they'll have yellow, red, and then the internal light will change. Jai. Meaningless.
Going back to the question of suicides, is it also...
Suicide, also these statistics, you can't necessarily trust them, because there are lies, damn lies and statistics.
And the whole concept...
As it is well known.
The whole concept of someone taking their own life is called suicide, and then considering that isn't that
that's another good point. Everyone who's not practicing Krishna consciousness is committing suicide. They're killing themselves. There's that verse, Nirayamadyam sulabam suduralabam lavam sukalpo guru karnadharam mayanukulena nabasviteratam puman bhavabdim nataretsa atmaha. Atmaha means killing the self. So someone who got the human form of life, which is very rarely attained, and has the opportunity to, the human life is like the body, human body is like a boat which is competent for crossing the ocean of material existence. And the Guru is a good captain, competent captain. And Krishna's instructions are like favorable winds for blowing that boat over the ocean. But if having all these facilities one fails to cross the ocean, such a person is atmaha, killing the self, committing suicide. So everyone's committing suicide. Another factor, maybe, that my observation is that in India in general, people don't take death as seriously as in these countries, where people think that there's only one life and then it's all over. So there's always a point you're going to make now. But people think I have another life, but they probably if you're born in, I don't know nowadays, because Hindus, they know nothing. Especially if you grow up in a city like Delhi, it's quite likely that you can go through your whole youth and go on to college and never know anything spiritual whatsoever. But in general, people, when they go to a cremation, and then the Pandit is supposed to read Garuda Purana about all the different things. I remember your father died, 15 years ago, something like that. So you went through all that, right? The standard thing. So the Garuda Purana tells you all the sins and all the reactions you get, and how you become this kind of ghost, or how you become that kind of ghost. So people know if you commit suicide, you become a ghost. But still they think life is so bad, I'd rather be a ghost. One major reason, and none of the political parties ever bring it up, there's a holocaust going on of Indian farmers. For years, thousands and thousands have been killing themselves every month. Because they take loans, and there's not enough rain. They take loans to buy these genetically modified seeds, and then they have to buy the fertilizers and the pesticides, and with the promise you'll get a bumper crop and big profit. But then if the rains don't come, then it's all finished. And they have huge debts, and the only thing they can do is sell their land, and then they have nothing for their family, and so whatever pesticide is left over, they drink it. It's a common story.
This rape statistics also.
Rape statistics.
They say that India is
the rape capital. But I heard it was Sweden.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, one rape is horrible. Then one more question, then we'll finish.
You were quoting Srila Prabhupada saying this moment is not to hide away. We have to.
This moment is not for hiding away, quoting Srila Prabhupada. It's not a direct quote, but he often quoted his own Guru Maharaj, this about Nirjan Bhajan. We're not meant for going away and just chanting by ourselves.
So if someone is taking the practices given by Srila Prabhupada, like from Mangalarti till Swarnarti, following all the regulative principles and preaching by example but not actively going out, does he have a good place or
Anyone who's chanting Hare Krishna is glorious. But we should think also that we got this gift by the grace of the devotees who kindly went out and distributed books and made the effort to bring it to us. We have a duty to share that with others. Just like in Vedic culture, when we have the debts, right? The Devarshi Bhutapta Nirnam Vitrina, we have debts to 5 kinds of people. So we have a debt to our parents and to the forefathers to produce children, because they produced us, so we have to have more children. And the stated purpose is offering pinda to save the departed ancestors from hell. But the idea is that you'll see in the first canto of Bhagavatam, Parikshit is born. The idea that we have a whole dynasty of saintly kings, and that shouldn't be stopped. That should be continued. So like that, we receive the body from parents, and we have a debt to them. Even if your parents are meat eaters and drunkards, but still you got this body from them. So similarly, we got Krishna consciousness by the grace of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples and his disciples' disciples, who made the effort to get out and share it with others. So we also have a debt to others. As Srila Prabhupada said, it is not in one famous letter. He said it is not possible to repay the debt to the spiritual master, but if you at all feel inclined to please me, then you should preach vigorously, as I am doing. So that's the way we should repay our debt by going on preaching, according to our capacity. That's also. Not everyone is going to be a world-conquering guru, but everyone we can preach. We can start with our children. That's you can also preach at home. The first guru is the mother. So the mothers train their children in Krishna consciousness. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had a mother who trained him in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada had a mother who trained him in Krishna consciousness. So that's the mother's preaching. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vancha kalpa